Good morning, everyone. My name is John Fogarty, and I come from a parish called Templederry, which is about 11 miles from here. And way back, I suppose, 12 years ago, a group of us came together and decided we'd draw up a development plan for our region. And we secured funding from Tipperary Leader at the time, and we were fortunate to secure the services of Professor Tom Collins, who was a professor in Maynooth at the time and was born in a neighbouring parish, so his heart was in the project. And he produced a development plan for us. And the overarching theme of the development plan was renewable energy, sustainable development, and environmental enhancement. So he pointed us in the direction of the then newly formed Tipperary Energy Agency, and its then newly appointed director, who was Seamus. And I can confirm that he had a lot more hair 12 years ago. So we got funding from North Tipperary Enterprise Board to do feasibility studies on anaerobic digestion, because in our parish, in the valleys, there's some very fertile ground and some large intensive farms, and they definitely had the potential to do a community anaerobic digester. We also looked at the possibility of wood for fuel, because in the marginal areas of the parish there's a lot of forestry, and unfortunately most of it is owned by Quilcha, but there is some private plantations, and it definitely had the potential for a wood fuel development. And the third one was on wind, and we certainly had mountains and hills and lots of wind. And in our wisdom at that stage, after serious consideration, we decided we'd go with the wind energy project, and that in a couple of years' time, when it would be up and running, it would help us to fund the other two. So I can confirm that as we speak, Enercon, who are a turbine manufacturer, are constructing the last turbine in a 4.6 megawatt wind farm. And hopefully construction will finish maybe by the end of next week, depending on the weather. And it'll take maybe 5 weeks of testing to get them commissioned. And within about 6 weeks, we should be exporting electricity into the national grid. It has been a very long road, and we've had a lot of obstacles in the way. But we were fortunate all the way along the line that we had people like Seamus, and that we did a renewable energy certificate in Tipperary Institute, and I think 5 or 6 of us completed that certificate, and that has been a great backup to us as well. When we set out to set up the wind development company, once again we got funding from Leader to buy a wind measuring anemometer, and to actually funding to set up the development company. So we're grateful to them. And in 2003 we were granted planning permission for a 3.9 megawatt wind farm, and we felt at that stage that it was full steam ahead and that we would have it in place within a couple of years. But almost immediately we applied for a grid connection, and within a couple of weeks the ESB announced a moratorium on all grid connections. And that moratorium lasted for 3.5 years. And for 3.5 years everything was just frozen. And eventually, after 3.5 years, we were granted a grid connection for 3.9 megawatts. But of course, our planning application would have run out after 5 years. And there was a waiting time for delivery of turbines for over 2 years. So we consulted again with the local planners, who I must say were very, very good all the way along the line. And they said that the only solution was to go back in for planning permission again. So we went back in for planning the second time, and this time round we had some objections. But North Tip County Council granted us planning a second time, and the objectors appealed to Bord Pleanála, and it took Bord Pleanála at that time 2 years and 3 months to process that appeal. But in 2009, we were granted planning, so it was full steam ahead. The next thing to do was apply for a power purchase agreement from one of the utility companies, because to fund the project, any bank would require that you have your electricity sold in advance for 15 years. And we were fortunate there again with the help of the Energy Agency once more. At this stage, I think Seamus was withdrawn into the background, and his successor, Paul Kenny, has been equally helpful, and we have called on his assistance on many, many occasions. So he helped us putting together that application for a power purchase agreement. And we got a power purchase agreement off of Bord Gáis, and then we had reached the final stage, which was finance. And all the time we had been speaking to Triodos Bank, who are a green bank, and they support community efforts, and we were anxious to have an ethical bank like that involved in the project. And also for the equity, we needed to raise money under a business expansion scheme, BS scheme, which was available at that time. So we got a firm of accountants to put together the BS scheme, and we had it all ready to launch in November. And the financial crisis occurred right on cue. So everybody who had committed funds to our BS scheme were afraid to commit funds for 5 years at that stage, and we had to go back to the drawing board again. Triodos also announced that they were withdrawn from the Irish market because they were afraid that the Irish government guarantees that they would get in refit may not hold up, and they decided to protect their depositors more than anything that they would stop dealing in Ireland at that particular stage. So we had to go to a BES funding house, and we did secure the equity off them, and we have secured the main capital through another system of funding. I can't really explain it at the moment, in as much as we've signed a confidentiality agreement, but within 4 or 5 weeks, hopefully everything will be in place, and we will be exporting electricity to the grid. And having got that far, I'd just like to thank everybody who are in attendance here that have helped us. And if anybody needs any further explanations for any of the various points that we had to endure and confront and overcome, we'd be delighted to expand further. So thank you very much.